Is there anything that you felt like went really well in the lesson and as you planned it to go?
I feel like John was able to stay on task for the most part. I had to remove a few things early on to help with the distractions, but I think he did well with that. Um,
Yeah, I think you were smart. Like when you had all the materials on the table and you saw that they were too distracting for him,
mm,
that you removed all the extra pieces to
yeah,
where you could keep him focused
as I
just
was
on
going
one
on the
piece at
lesson,
a time.
I noticed that it was getting a little overwhelming for him, so I took lessened
The demand,
the
kind of.
demand. Yeah.
Also, I know when you were asking the what questions, and sometimes if he had difficulty with the expressive part of that or using, his device, that you were able to say receptively, okay, point to the fork,
Yeah. Did
and
it?
show me the napkin, show me the plate, rather, when he was having more difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
He struggles a lot. He's nonverbal, and he does pretty good with his AAC device, but it's definitely not a strength for him. Pointing is a lot of his communication throughout the school day.
and I also noticed that I like the way that you did the visual representation of the objects, and then you wanted to generalize his skill set to a traditional plate, fork,
Right.
spoon, knife, and napkin, to where it would translate over like when he goes home to how he would know how to do that. But one of my concerns with him is that if he had a seizure today,
Mm-hmm.
that skill would be gone tomorrow. So, like, what is your plan in making sure that this actually he did get the visual representation, and then you had the generalization, and to make sure that that carries over throughout the year?
We really have to watch him with the seizures because it causes a lot of regression with him, and that's with all skills that he has. We often have to reteach skills, things that he may have mastered at the beginning of the year. By the middle of the year, he's struggling with as the weather changes, especially the seizure activity increases, and over the weekend. He may be able to complete this task easily on Friday, but Monday, especially if he's had a seizure or if the weather is bad, it gets him, causes more seizures usually. We may have to completely start over with him. And so that's why, a lot of these skills are things that we want him to be able to do at home also, for a more functional academic setting for him. That's more appropriate for his level.
Yes, and I noticed that you use the traditional fork, knife, and
Mm-hmm.
spoon. But does he have to have special utensils, or with all his motor deficits, or is he able to use the traditional flatware?
He uses the traditional flatware. We have a special device that he places his cup in as he pours, because he has weakness on his left side and he's not able to stabilize the cup. He's doing well with that, but again, that's something that he may do well with one day, and the next day he struggles with more.
So tell me how you tied this into math, because it's a very functional skill,
Mm-hmm.
but you also tied it to a math a goal and objective. So tell me about the math component of this lesson.
We talked about how we add one more, or how many forks do we need if we're setting one setting. As he progresses and is able to do this easier, we'll talk about placing doing two. So how many forks do you need for two place settings? And he'll count out two forks. And it goes back to the one-to-one correspondence. If you have one place setting, you need one fork. You need another place setting, you need another fork. So you need two forks all together.
And I noticed that he was very comfortable with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell that he works easily with you, and you've built a rapport. And you also really did a good job of providing positive feedback. Like, good job. I know she said good job, doing one of the skills. You said, hey, I like the way that you place the fork on top of the napkin.
He
And
responds very well to positive reinforcement. Um, it he needs a lot to keep him motivated, because he can't work for an extended amount of time. Um, so we really try to get as much done in a short amount of time as possible, and
and
he does better
I
with
mean,
that.
he was able to stay with the task today, but I
Mm-hmm.
know, like, if he's had recent seizure activity, how could you, like, start this task and then make it shorter and then maybe come back to it after a break? Because I know sometimes his attention span is shorter
Mm-hmm.
than others.
We could break it up into the activity where he places it on the paper and then take a break. Sometimes he has to lay down or just sit in a quiet place for a little while, and then come back and then use the real silverware and
'Cause
plates
I-
and that kind of thing.
I really sometimes you kind of had to stabilize his wrist even to point and do the
Yes. The fine motor deficits cause him to need some assistance with that kind of thing. Like I said, he has left side weakness, so he mostly uses his right hand for all tasks.
So if you were to repeat the lesson, is there anything you would do differently or things that you might do differently next time?
Next time, I think that we will practice doing 2 place settings and see how he does with that.
I think that's a good next step. All right, thank you.